Alrighty y'all, it's been a minute, but we're back with a sign that I installed more than 2 years ago. Wanted to run you through how to do this simple stud mounted sort of sign with just your basic tools. CNC Plasma Cutter, not that basic, welder, and grinder. Let's go. And what a blast from the past this is going to be. We're going back to the old plasma cutter before I upgraded to that HTP Microcut 875. We're going to cut out all of the parts that you see here that we're going to need. We're actually making 3 copies of everything. We'll get into the reason for that later. Fortunately, these are small little letters and logo pieces. They nest together beautifully. This entire sign came out of less than 32 inches by 48 inches of 14 gauge cold rolled. Ultimately, as we cut each letter, we're also going to be making 2 and in some cases 3 pierce points in the letters, just small little dots. Those are going to be locating marks for us to put the studs or weld the studs into later, and they'll correspond to drill marks that are going to be made in a stencil we're going to create so that we can accurately mount all these pieces on the masonry wall they eventually go on without any real issues. With this much cutting going on, of course, some of the pieces are going to fall down into the water table, so we'll fish those out and then move over to cleaning them up. Tommy's wire brushing them off, and eventually we'll grind what we need to grind. He's using his hand, weights, and eventually clamps to hold these pieces down and get at everything that needs cleaning up. It's really not an ideal solution. A mag chuck is beautiful and does the job so much better. Got a link down in the description for them. It's not a sponsored thing at all, but you know, they're great tools to have. They're totally worth it, and it's a great addition to the shop. With all the parts being cleaned up, I'm over at the plasma table cutting out our stencil, which is going to, like I said, locate all of these holes that need to be drilled on the masonry wall the sign's getting installed on. We're just cutting it out of some 26 gauge galvanized because it's basically the cheapest steel that you can get your hands on, or at least I can in my area, and this stencil is a one-time thing. Of course, you could print this out on paper or get it cut from cardboard or something, but you know, I've got a CNC machine that cuts metal. I'm gonna do it this way. Now that we've got our studs cut down to length, they're just number 6 threaded rod. I'm going to burn off all the galvanizing on them with some dilute muriatic acid, and then we'll sit down to start welding these together. Earlier I said we're going to make 3 of every part, and that's correct. I want to have a display copy of this sign to keep in the shop, and of course we've got the one that needs to go to the customer. So we make 3. Once we're done with all the parts, before we go through grinding and all that, I'll pick the one that I like the most, or the 2 that I like the most, and those will be what we keep. Of course, you can quality control what you're doing as you work through it, but I find it much easier to just build the parts and then at the end, you know, pick the best ones. When you're doing 100 of something, doing 30 more of it is not that big of a deal. Realistically, it's not a lot of time invested, and at least in my opinion, I like to be in the zone on one task, finish that task, and move on to the next one. I'd much rather not be in a situation where I'm going to be, you know, stopping, starting, fixing, grinding, welding, blah 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 blah. I just want to weld, and then I want to grind, and then I want to install, and then I want to get paid. as we work through the welding, you're going to see I'm basically using the HTP ProPulse 200, which is a similar machine to their new 220 MTS, in exactly the stock settings for 14 gauge. Our sign faces are 14 gauge. The studs, of course, are a little bit thicker, which means I need to aim my tacks more at the stud than at the plate when we put them together. That's not a big deal to do. This works out pretty well for me. I like a pretty hot tack when we're doing this, just so you're not dealing with the risk of, low penetration or the tack just sitting on the surface of the steel. Of course, this being cold rolled makes that a little bit easier than you would have if it was hot rolled. There's more of a chance for the tack not to penetrate through the mill scale. It's just repetitive work at this point. It looks like a lot, but it's probably not even 2 hours of work for me to sit here and do all of these. Realistically, it's probably even less than that. You'll see what I've got in my table is a hole drilled, and after we tack the stud on the back, I'm going to flip the piece over, lay it flat, and put a tack over that pierce hole in the front. This lets me come back later and grind the faces flush. On small pieces like this, you can hide that grinding. I wouldn't want to do this in a big field if I didn't have to, but on small pieces, it's fine. Ultimately, there's a bunch of different ways to do this. This is the cheap and dirty, easy way. We're going to go to some close-ups here so you can see what we're working with. I do that from time to time. And of course, while that's the quick and dirty way to get this done, the easy but not as cheap by any means way is to use a stud welder. I'd like to show you guys that even though I've got some nice tools and some things that save me time, I didn't always. I worked my way up here, and you can do this by hand. It just takes you a little bit more time, and those tools start to become the thing that really makes sense to have around the shop once you get busy enough to where you start to have more money than time, as opposed to when you're starting out. Of course, you're always going to have more time than money. We'll dive into some of the details about this build if you want to see it over on Patreon. I appreciate the support of all the people there, especially during these weird times. We get a bid breakdown for this project where I'll go over the real numbers, all the details, how I came to my bid, my thoughts on it, and if I was going to redo it again today, what would I charge for it? So if that's your sort of thing, check it out. If you don't like it, send me a message. I'll refund you your contribution within the first week. So we're jumping through a couple more close-ups here. I want you guys to see the details of this process because the most common questions I get are about, how did you do this one specific thing in this one specific video? And I love those comments because it lets me realize, the things that I've forgotten that I didn't know. When you're starting out, a lot of this stuff is really intimidating, and really it's the same process, welding or grinding or something else. And it's just different spins on how you do it, different ways to approach the same problem. So I'm trying to focus in on it. I hope you guys are getting something from it. As we go through, it's a groove. You find your rhythm. You just knock all these pieces out. There was a lot in this sign, especially when I was doing 2, or in some of the really small pieces I actually made all 3 of because, they're small. You're more likely to melt some of the plate away when you're welding. It's worth it to just make all 3. After doing all the welding, we jump over to grinding, and the grinding is super simple. I'm using a 60 grit flap disc here and just buzz off that tack you put on the front. While you're at it, clean the entire face of the piece up. This is where doing small parts is really nice because you can grind the entire face. Don't try and save 2 seconds by only grinding your welds. Clean everything up. Again, gives you a nice uniform finish. And then there's always going to be a couple pieces that, your weld didn't penetrate entirely. You've got some porosity. Something happened. Who cares what the reason was? We'll go back in, clean them up, fix them, and then regrind. And we have our pieces. Now, if you're in a situation where you're having a tough time with this, if this is difficult to you, practice makes perfect. If you guys are interested, we have our welding practice cubes over on weldityourselfkits.com. I've got the 12 gauge cubes. You get a dozen of them. Those are on sale, as well as our variety pack where you get a pair of cubes in 6 different metal thicknesses, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20 gauge. It's a great way to practice. My buddy Brian, who was learning how to weld, did some with me when I was visiting his shop a while back, and great little thing. I love them. I think they're a cool little product. I hope you guys might like them too. Now that we've got the grinding done, I'm not going to hold up any more time. Let's jump into putting up a copy of this sign in the shop as a display piece and then install. With the stencil attached to the wall, we're going to go through and drill out all of the marked holes. This wall is going to get painted, so I'm doing this beforehand just because that'll be a cleaner finish, and make sure to hit every hole because you don't want to have to go back and try and figure one out after the fact. The tool I'm using here is an SDS. It's a hammer drill with a bad attitude. They're really useful for this sort of stuff, and I like that particular unit because it's easy to operate one-handed, so if you're up on a ladder or scaffolding, it does the trick. Then we're going to test fit everything. I'm doing this again because I'm about to paint this wall, so I want to make sure that I'm not missing any holes. I want to make sure everything's where it needs to be, everything's good to go, and it was. So we'll slide all those pieces back out of the wall and then paint. Never be too proud to do the stuff that doesn't seem to be inside of your job description if it helps you with the job. In this case, the customer wanted the wall painted. Her painter wasn't getting back to her, and I said, hey, I've got a cordless, airless sprayer. I'll come out there and we'll just knock the wall out. It's not that big of a deal. And it wasn't. With 2 coats of paint on the wall, I'm going to come back in with just a standard construction adhesive. In this case, I'm using this particular adhesive because it's very similar in color to the paint that went on the wall. Especially once it dries, it's going to dry lighter than what you see here. And then all the pieces are just pushed into the wall. That glob of construction adhesive at the front of the hole we drilled gets raked or dragged down the threads of the studs that are on these pieces and glues it into the wall. 2 years later, all those pieces are still there, even with our Oklahoma wind. You know, somebody probably could come along and yank one of these out of the wall if they really wanted to, but we're not trying to design something like this for every sort of crazy vandal. If you really wanted to go above with it, you could of course use like a masonry epoxy. That stuff is super strong and would hold this in, you know, basically as strong as the sign or the masonry behind it is. With a little bit of final cleanup, this project is wrapped up. I came back the next day just to make sure that, you know, nothing had moved. It hadn't. And here we are more than 2 years later. Sign's still looking great. So if y'all like that one, I invite you to subscribe. Join us for the next one. We got some really interesting stuff coming to the shop. Until next time, thanks for stopping by.